kind of a little dark here, but I wanted to just use this space because I wanted to just demonstrate an awesome exercise. So we're talking about like how the mind works, and it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to give you like a quick like little physiology so that you understand how to really wield the power of your mind. And there's three facets to the mind, and this is like a spiritual and physical teaching. And you have your negative mind, you have your positive mind, and you have your neutral mind. And so it's not the one is better than the other. We need all three facets. And basically what happens is, a thought comes in and it has both a negative and a positive charge to it, because it's just the nature of the vibration itself. And that's just physics, right? So you run the thought into your body, and there's a neuroendocrine cascade, which will then determine which side of the charge that thought is going to be on based on what frequency you're kind of operating from in general, which is why it's so important to just raise your overall vibration. So, if you're in a high frequency state, you're going to run higher frequency thoughts. The higher frequency of that thought is what's going to get chosen. If you're in a lower frequency state, then you're going to lean toward the lower frequency. And again, that's just physics. So, depending on where your charge is, that's going to really determine how you run the thought and what your experience is going to be. But the bottom line is that your body's going to run the thought through the negative mind first, because the negative mind is going to be like, oh, okay, are we in danger? It's the first response. It's going to take a look at like, if you're in harm's way, what do we need to get out of harm's way? And that's a good thing. However, we have the tendency to run toward negative, especially women, because we are biologically built to tend and befriend, to protect, to really, we do have that negative tendency. Plus now in the collective, there's that negative tendency based on fear of like this big dystopian future. So a lazy, unaware mind is always going to default toward kind of a negative sway. And so you need to have command of how a thought is going to run through the body-mind experience so that it won't dip toward this kind of like, lazy, unaware, untrained way, right? We don't want to have it settle in the worst case scenario kind of a situation. So we want to get on the positive charge of the thought so that you're going to create a different response. So basically you are going to have a scenario, you're going to have a thought, right? You have the thought, and then depending on which side of the charge you're on will determine how your body regulates around the info. So, you have a thought. Okay, the hormones are basically then going to be secreted, and your nervous system is going to be activated in a certain way to give you a physical experience. So how your body will respond to that thought is going to be negative or positive. And as I said, if you're in a low frequency state, you're going to continue choosing low frequency thoughts and then running. And you see how it becomes this loop, which is why we do things like meditation. This is what your advanced body-mind training is for. But I'm going to actually give you an exercise and a couple of tips to fortify the opportunity to get to your neutral mind as quickly as possible. But it because it happens so fast, sometimes you're not even aware. So you don't even notice like, oh my gosh, I had this thought and it took a negative charge. And then before you know it, you're kind of in this negative state. So the goal is that we want to train the body mind to experience this in a way that the info doesn't get caught in a negative charge. So you have the thought, you run it through the negative mind, you perceive danger, and then the info goes into the positive mind, which is actually like your inner research engine. And it's very much like it's not positive in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to think positively. It's just taking input and then finding evidence to support that the thought is true, which is why you want to catch it in the negative mind, right? So let's say you're having the thought, I'm fat. And then that thought is going to go to the positive mind next, and it's going to pull up every time in your life where you were told that, where you perceived that, where you thought that before, where you felt that way, where a scale may have said that way, whatever the evidence is to prove the thought true. That's what the positive mind's job is, just looking for the research to come up with the evidence and give you all the examples. It doesn't have an agenda, it's just looking for proof. So we have to be able to catch that thought in the negative, right? Before it goes to the positive for the proof, which totally makes sense. And you need to have command over that. And so how you get the command over that is really, again, through the training. So meditation and contemplation are obviously practices that allow you to get to the neutral mind as quickly as possible. So the neutral mind is there simply to say, okay, perhaps there's some danger, perhaps there's some proof, or perhaps there was this, thought that came in that made me feel unsafe, and then there's proof for it. And I'm going to be neutral and see the right action and find the calm in the center of the storm and align with the intuitive wisdom that's actually there, which puts you into higher frequency. So this is gold, right? So having command of this is gold, because it's going to allow you, it's not that you don't freak out. It's like you are going to maybe have the thought, you see that you freaked out, that you built your case around it, but things like meditation and contemplation, these contemplative practices, like taking pauses throughout the day and really being with thoughts and becoming aware of them so that you can get to the neutral as quickly as possible and make choices in self-promotion, right? If you are meditating regularly, then you develop a barrier of intelligence and a higher frequency of awareness. And literally, what you're thinking before the mind control of the collective gets to it, right? Because then that's another place where we get into these low frequency states, because the collective is running like, you're fat if you're not a size 2, or, if you have this cough, you're going to get corona, or whatever it is, it's going to lodge and it's going to feed off of that. So what can you do? Awareness, meditations on a regular basis, and contemplation built into your schedule. So kind of these 2-hour pauses. And then during that pause, I say, literally, run your spirit. Okay, run your spirit. So what do I mean? I'm going to give you 4 things to do. So it's this 2 to 2.5 hour pace that keeps you in synchronicity with just the way the planet is moving, which keeps your nervous system kind of regulated and responsive, and in a very sophisticated way. It's really like high tech response. So you're always in this state of awareness, and then you do a little alternate nostril breathing, right? So you can clip it or not, but you're inhaling through the right, exhaling right, inhale left, exhale left. That's the easiest thing to do. Run it for 3 minutes. And there are some variations on that, but that's just a basic way. So you come into this pause, you do alternate nostril breathing, and then you just allow a few minutes of space to daydream. Just see what thoughts are coming in, because we run 1,000 of them a second. So just starting to notice what's coming in that feels good, what's coming in that feels bad, what can we do about it? And then the next thing that you can actually do, and a right action you can take. So you do your alternate nostril breathing, you pause, you daydream a little bit, and then check on a neighbor. That's a great spiritual practice. So what do I mean by check on a neighbor? Literally just tune in. You can do it vibrationally. You can do it with an email. You can do it with a text, but just tune in. Somebody that drops into your field, send them a blast of love, or just send them a quick text. Hey, just thinking about you. How you doing? That literally sets off a neuroendocrine cascade of feel-good hormones that help you get into the neutral mind and build your practice of right action. So powerful. And the last thing I'm going to show you is bow pose. And this is going to make you unstoppable. So this you just want to make as a part of your regular everyday movement practice. It doesn't have to be during the pause. And it's charging up your navel point. Okay, this is the seat of your soul. This is where your strength and your power lie. And tapping into the infinite strength and creativity and force here is what literally can pull you into neutral mind and make right action decisions like that. As a boss, as a leader, as an executive, as a friend. So you can place your hands underneath your tushy, which I'd recommend as you start this practice. And you're bringing your feet up to about a 45-degree angle. Thighs are together. And you can be looking, and you want to gaze actually between your feet. So your feet are together and you're gazing between your feet. And you're going to build up to holding this position with a breath of fire. Inhale, exhale powerfully for 2 minutes. Now, most people can't do that, but a healthy human should be able to hold this for 2 minutes. So you can, bring one leg down if you need to and back up. But generally speaking, you want to get to about 2 minutes holding this position. And at the end, what you're going to do is you're going to inhale and squeeze and exhale and pull that mulabandha, pull the rectum, sex organs, navel point up and in, and then exhale and release, and then bring the knees into the chest and give your spine a little self-massage. And every day, 2 minutes of stretch pose, and that is going to help you build the efficiency and responsiveness of your mind facets. So you're going to run negative, you're going to run the positive, and then it's getting to that neutral as quickly as possible so that you can make a decision that is in alignment with your highest destiny. Boom.